Shalom, shalom. Test, test, 1, 2. Test, test, 1, 2. Shalom, Yabashim Yahshua Barakathum. To all my brothers, Yahushua Alathah Bashim Yahshua, to all my sisters. We're the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We've been teaching so-called Negroes, so-called Hispanics, and so-called Native Indians that they're the Lord's chosen people according to the Bible, according to these scriptures. We are the real Jews that the Bible speaks of. We've been teaching this truth since 1969 under Commander General Yohana. Today's the Boston history class. We're going to talk about Elijah, who was a very important figure in the Bible, who at the time went under major persecution because our leadership in Israel was wicked. And anytime our leadership is wicked and unrighteous and lead the sheep astray, we fall under what I would call a major test. And this major test is something that is that involves the whole nation of Israel. And there's men who have succumbed this test and who eventually will pass this test. And those men are the men that are not celebrating Christmas, that are not putting on the culture of our oppressor, that are not out there doing all manner of evil and wickedness in the sight of the Lord during times where it's appropriate to do it because of poverty. It's appropriate to do it because of oppression, right? A lot of people will, gesture that, well, I had to do what I had to do. You think about Biggie Smalls back in the days when he said he had to sell crack to feed his daughter, right? So we fall under the witchcraft of the so-called white man because poverty is something that causes you to be a homosexual. Poverty is something that causes you to be a drug dealer. Poverty is something that causes you to be a thief. And so just to go back to what the whole topic's about, in this instance, the thing that Israel didn't have during the time of Elijah was righteous leadership. Now, Elijah, being a man of the Lord, he was feared by many, right? And many hearkened onto the words of Elijah, which came from the Lord. But time and time again, when it comes to the rich of Israel, when it comes to the leadership of our people, we are subjected to the wages of, we are subjected to the wages of death, because the rich of Israel has always been at odds with the poor of Israel. It's always been a battle between the rich and the poor, right? General Mahyman brought it up the other day when he mentioned, when he was talking about ATL, Atlanta, how the reason why the strip clubs are so big in Atlanta is because of poverty, right? He mentioned, he had brought up the idea, the fact that, you know, the civil rights movement was something that catered towards rich aristocrats, meaning rich black people who felt a need to start a movement that would accelerate their finances, accelerate their status, and more than likely envy their oppressor. More than likely, they've envied their oppressor, which was one of the key factors in the civil rights movement. So we have to really understand why Christ said it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. Now, the poor brother, Nick Cannon, you know, had one of the biggest tests that a person can have in the music industry, in the entertainment industry, and he clearly failed that test. But I think I don't know. I think I'm having connection issues, but I'm gonna ride it out. Let me pull up the chat. Let me see if I'm having some connection issues. I might have to switch over the internet connection for some reason. You know. Okay, let me see if I can pull up the chat. If you're in class right now, I'm not even going. Let me digress because let me ask some questions to see who's in class. All right, let's see. I'm gonna type in test. If there's let me know if there is Slovakia. Let me type this in. You know I finger chop. Good on the tube. No Facebook. Okay. Thank you. Yo, Rock. One love, man. You always come through during these classes. Rock is always on beat. When it comes to these classes, I appreciate you out. Let me see if I could. Let me see if I can go up in here real quick. Can I get up in here? And for some reason, we are not on YouTube. Go figure, right? Well, let me see. It says the connection has expired. Reconnect. Let me see if I can try to reconnect. Rob, if you're still online, let me know if I'm able to reconnect. Okay. Let me see if I can. Salakia, bear with me. If y'all have any questions online, ask your questions while I try to tackle this issue. Yeah, let's see if I can do it. Okay, Restream's acting up. YouTube is okay, Rock, right? If you're still online, Rock, let me know if YouTube is okay. We're just gonna have to ride it out with YouTube. If Facebook is acting up, let me know, Rock. If you're online, let me know. I'm gonna see if I could. See if I can get up in here. ISUPK Boston. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay. Let's see if we can try to figure this out. I ain't gonna spend too much time. If you have any questions, by all means, don't be afraid to ask your questions. This is what these classes are for. Let me give it another minute on the questions. Let me know if you have any questions. Don't seem like we're able to log in. Rob, if you can, right? Text me the Facebook password if you have it. I'm not sure if it changed. If you have it, let me know. All right, we're about to just get the class started. Let's just get this started. You know what I mean? All right. Let's see what you got. All right, no sweat. All right, so I guess we're only rocking with YouTube right now. No sweat, Rock. You know what? I'm just gonna rock it out on YouTube. It is what it is. We'll figure it out another day. I don't want to waste too much time. I tried logging in on Facebook. If you can text me the password to Facebook, Rock, let's get that. Not able to log in. Okay, let me just check this text message real quick. Oh, okay. I see you, Rock. I see you, Rock. Okay, no sweat. Just Rock, call me after class, so we can handle that. Whatever the thing that you just texted me. All right. But I'm gonna get this. Let's just get rolling with the Facebook. As long as the Facebook is rolling, let's just do that real quick. Okay. And text me the password to the Facebook too, Rob. All right. Salakia, let's get back to it. There's no questions. Let's get started. So now, Israel is in a predicament right now. You know what I mean? You got to remember, during the time of Samuel, the people did not want the Most High, did not vote for the Most High to reign over them, right? Meaning this, the people during the time of Samuel wanted to be just like the other nations when it came to voting for a king. Instead of electing the Most High to be their king, they wanted, like the other nations, a man to be their king. And they didn't want to deal with the Most High, thinking that they could sway a man better than they can sway a. And in reality, Samuel had to break it down to him like, this is what's going to happen if you choose a man to rule over you. right? He's going to use your son and daughters in his courts. He's going to take your horses. He's going to, and he's giving them a rundown of the decisions, the grave decision that they've started to make, which is why this is when Solomon comes into the scene, right? And Solomon was what they called in the Bible a goodly man, and eventually Solomon ended up falling, and the Most High killed Solomon because of the wickedness that he did in Israel. And so now we come into the now if you think about the time of Elijah, the king at the time was Ahab. And Ahab, so let me just see this real quick. And Ahab was the wrong kind of leadership that our people needed. And he ended up marrying a heathen woman by the name of Jezebel, who turned Israel upside down, who during the time when Elijah and the prophets were in place, Jezebel came about to destroy Elijah and to destroy the prophets. And what you got to understand is that the reason why this place is still standing today, the reason why you haven't seen the devastation that's soon to come, but you haven't seen it yet, is because the priests and prophets of the Lord still have a job to do, right? While you are out there drinking, eating, and marrying, the priests and prophets of the Lord, we have to do the service of the Lord. And we have to maintain a level of we have to basically be real rambunctious about this truth to be able to go out there and teach and wake up brothers. You know what I mean? We had to give up our livelihoods, and we had to throw away our own ambitions to be able to serve the Lord and to be able to serve our people. And so when wicked rulership comes on the planet, especially the rich of Israel, especially the princes of Israel, who have time and time historically have come against us, the only hope that you have are the priests and prophets of the Lord. The only hope that you have are the men in the UPK who could sustain a pandemic by reaching out to the Most High, by praying and crying on to the Lord. Because the Lord does not hearken unto sinners. And if you want to prove it, we could. Let's go to that real quick, right? The time of Elijah, Elijah went through, during that time, it was terrible in Israel because, keep in mind, Elijah went through a famine, right? And the school of prophets went through a famine in the land, right? Elijah had to go on the run. He was a fugitive because of Jezebel and the power that she was able to succumb through Ahab, who was weak and fell under the witchcraft of his wife or the queen at the time, Jezebel, which is why we don't do queens in Israel, right? What's the name of the lady who's running with Biden right now as we speak? Can we pull that up? Let me see. I was interested in this. His run mate. Let's figure out her name real quick. Kamala Harris, right? Is as running mate, right? We've never put a woman in a position of leadership. The only time a woman had to step up into the plate is when our leadership failed. And this is when you think about Deborah, who they called the prophetess. The Lord dealt with Deborah only because our leadership failed and was weak. And anytime our leadership fails, the Lord could go to a sister like Deborah. But it's not like she took the charge. The Lord, what the Lord did was, the Lord chose Deborah because Deborah was like a mother in Israel, right? She wasn't going to go out into the battlefield and pick up a sword and fight. But because the state of affairs in our nation was because our walls languished and our leadership failed, the Lord had to use a woman as Deborah. Now, let's talk about Kamala Harris. Now, this woman, Kamala Harris, right? Let me get more insight on her before I even speak on it, right? Let's read about this woman right here, right? We're going to go to let's go to CBS News, right? Who this woman could potentially be his running mate. And the reason why, when you think about voting and the voting system, time and time again, black people have been bamboozled. And devils like Joe Biden are going to go and try to get the black vote, right? Now, now, a lot of the dreams that they've sold to us has always been fugazi. It's never something that they follow through with. But the problem with our people is that when our oppressor speaks and he embarks on a speech that sounds good, that tickles the ear, time and time again, because he is cunning, because he's persuasive, and because he's the author of lies, and he's able to convince you, we fall for the same trick over and over. Black people should never vote in this country, right? Because the people that you're voting for are the people that are going to dig a deeper ditch for you. And we fail to realize that voting has never worked. We fail to realize that marching has never worked, right? But let me just pull up this Kamala Harris lady real quick. Salakia, let me just catch your text, Rock. I see your text. Okay, so we switched it, huh? Let me see if I can type this in real quick. Okay, that's what it is. You know what it is? Okay. All right. So, Rob, we're just gonna have to make it happen with the YouTube. I think that's what's going on the restream. But let's get back to Kamala Harris, right? I'm signed in, Rock. I'm signed in on Facebook too. So I think on the restream end, we're just gonna have to work it out on that end. The login on that end. But I'm signed in. I should be able to reconnect. But let's talk about Joe Biden's running mate, Kamala Harris, and I think it's a very important topic, right? And why is Joe Biden using this woman, right? What's his what's his ulterior motive in this situation, right? As sinister as every presidential candidate has been, right? And we're online on Facebook now, Rock. So I think we're good. I think I just had to. Sign in. What's his ulterior motive for using Kamala Harris as his running mate, right? It seems like Joe Biden's very desperate right now, and he'll do anything that it takes to get the black and Hispanic vote, right? Let me see, Rob, what you got for me? I fixed the stream. Okay, Rob, go ahead. Give a hand to Ricari out for fixing that goddamn stream. We back in action. Okay. So now let me pull this up on CBS News. I just wanna give a quick update, right? It says Joe Biden announced that he has chosen California Senator Kamala Harris to be his running mate heading into November's presidential election, adding his former rival for the Democratic nomination to the ticket. Now keep in mind that this woman was his former rival, right? And now she has joined on to her oppressor to further his cause, which is going to bring more hell for our people, right? And you know, black women are in a position right now in America of influence. They're in a higher echelon than black men in America, and they have a voice, right? And you know, these are more chess games that's being run to put another devil in office. Why? Think about it. When you really analyze who they target, why don't they target Chinese people, right? Why isn't that the emphasis? Or Arabs, or, you know, these other nations. Why don't they target them? Because the one thing that they know about them is that they stick together and they stick to their own. Chinese people are not going out their way to vote. They could give a damn about the presidential election, right? They come out here and they understand the law of separation. They understand that we have to stick with our own. We have to make as much money as we can in Babylon and send it back to our country to fix our people, right? The mentality is totally different, but because black and Hispanic people have become hopeless in this place, because we are so naive and so easily deceived, we've always been the scapegoat for a lot of these presidential for a lot of these presidential elections, right? It's always been about the black vote, right? But let's keep reading. The Biden campaign made the announcement in a text message to supporters on Tuesday. Joe Biden here. Big news. I have chosen Kamala Harris as my running mate. Now, this was his formal rival. Remember that. Together with you, we're going to beat Trump. The message says, adding a link to Biden's campaign website. The Biden campaign announced the two will make their first appearance together on Wednesday at an event in Wilmington, Delaware. Speaking at the White House on Tuesday, President Trump brought back one of his favorite insults from 2016, calling Harris nasty. Right? Let's hear what Trump has to say about Kamala Harris. She was very, very nasty, too. One of the reasons that surprised me, she She was probably nastier than even Pocahontas to Joe Biden. She was very disrespectful to Joe Biden, and it's hard to pick somebody that's disrespectful, the president said. So now Trump is calling out Biden, saying like, yo, this is the same woman that straight disrespected you, right? That belittled you, that had no clear signs of appeasance to you, right? Let's keep reading. He also recalled her treatment of his Supreme Court nominee, Brett Kavanaugh, in 2018 during his confirmation hearing. She was extraordinarily nasty to Kavanaugh. Judge Kavanaugh then, now Justice Kavanaugh, Mr. Trump said. He added, I won't forget that soon. Harris had pressed Kavanaugh about sexual misconduct allegations leveled at him dating back to high school and college. And look at this. I want to show you a photo. Can I, Rock? I want to see if I can show this photo real quick on the browser. I'm wondering. How I got to do this. Display capture, right, Rock? I think that's what it is, right? Salaki, let me see. Let me show you a photo, a disgusting photo. Salaki, let me see. There it is. See that photo right there? Look at her face. Now these are two people that were, going back and forth, disrespecting each other, who were rivals at the time, right? But now look at her face, the way she's hugging Massa, right? Just swallow that real quick, right? Which is why these politicians could never, ever, ever stand up for your cause, right? A woman like that could never, ever put you first, right? She's tied into a system where she has to wag her tail and she has to jump when Master says jump. And Massa, Joe Biden, is using her to put a level of witchcraft in your mind to say Joe Biden truly cares for black people. Why would he use a black woman as his running mate if he did not care for black people, right? And she is going to use a level of witchcraft on you to make you believe that truly she's going to stand for your cause, right? But let's clear that real quick. I just wanted to bring that up real quick. Let's get back to it. So now, let's get back to Jezebel. Let's get back to 1 Kings chapter 16, verse 1. Right? Let's do that real quick. Let me see. Okay. The water, Rock. Let me just pull up the chat, see if there's any questions. 1 second before we get going on this. All right. All right. There we go. Let me know if I'm having any video streaming issues. But let's get it. All right. So 1 Kings chapter 16, verse 1. Then the word of the Lord came to Jehu, the son of Hananiah, against Baasha, saying, actually, let's do this right. Let's jump to Let's jump to verse 31. First Kings chapter 16, verse 31. I'm just trying to get the timeline. All right, let's go. Let's start at verse 29. First Kings chapter 16, verse 29. And in the 38th year of Asa, king of Judah, began Ahab, the son of Omri, to reign over Israel. And Ahab, the son of Omri, reigned over Israel in Samaria 22 years, right? So King Ahab reigned for 22 years in Israel, right? And we're really going to look at the characteristics of this king and how it equates to the characteristics of our leadership, of the leadership of black people today. And when I say the leadership, I'm talking about your politicians, your black and Hispanic politicians. I'm talking about your priests. I'm talking about the rich of Israel, right? Let's keep reading. 1 Kings chapter 16, verse 30. And Ahab, the son of Omri, did evil in the sight of the Lord, of all that were before him. Now, understand, there's men in Israel, your politicians, your priests, right, that are being rated as to how much evil they've done to our people. And what we'll start to understand is that the Lord had a chronicle, the Lord recorded a chronicle of all the kings of Israel, and the predecessors before that were always labeled as, this king was evil before their fathers. This king was evil before their fathers. Meaning, the Lord rated how evil the kings of Israel were. And this particular king, King Ahab, was more evil than all the kings before him. Right? That's what you got to understand. He was more evil than all the kings before him. Right? And there are preachers out there that are more evil than preachers before them. Right? Understand that. Preachers before them, they're more evil than. They've been more evil than. So we really have to analyze that our leadership has a level of as being, is basically getting worse and worse as time goes on, right? Starting from your Martin Luther Kings to your modern day leadership today, right? Modern day black leadership today, right? Including Kamala Harris, who could be a potential running mate, who is a politician that clearly has never done anything for our people. I mean, I never even heard of this woman. First time hearing it. For those that follow political news, and for those that are, that are in tune with a lot of what these politicians are doing, I've never even heard. That are in tune with a lot of what these politicians are doing, I've never even heard of this woman. But I can guarantee you, this woman has done nothing for our people, has done nothing for Israel. We're in 1 Kings chapter 16, verse 31. And it came to pass, as if it had been a light thing for him to walk in the sin of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, that he took to wife Jezebel, the daughters of Ethbaal, king of the Zidonians, and went and served Baal and worshipped him. See, what the Lord is telling you is this. He said it was a light thing, right? that he walked in the sins of Jeroboam. But what made it even worse is that he married a heathen woman and proclaimed her to be queen. And the problem with marrying heathens is that what you'll end up doing is you'll end up worshiping their gods. I'll give you an example. If you marry a Chinese woman, there's a likelihood that you are going to worship Buddha. If you marry an Arab woman, there's a 90% chance that you are going to worship Allah, right? If you marry a white woman, there's a likelihood that you are going to worship white Jesus, right? But let's keep reading. Verse 32, and he reared up an altar for Baal in the house of Baal, which he had built in Samaria. He's not only worshiping Baal, but he built a house for Baal. Now, what does that remind you of today? I'll give you a second to realize what he did and what our people do today. I'll give you a second. All right. Here's what he did. He worshiped Baal and he built a house for Baal. The people that worship Baal today are Christians. Christians worship Baal. And what do? They build a house for Baal to go and worship Baal, which is every Christian church on the planet. Every Christian church, the building is something that has been built for Baal, right? Realize that people that exercise idol worship always build some sort of sanctuary for that idol, right? Verse 31. Let's keep reading. Verse 32. Verse 33. It's 1 Kings chapter 16, verse 33. And Ahab made a grove. And Ahab did more to provoke the Lord, power of Israel, to anger than all the king of Israel that were before him. Verse 34. In his days did Hiel, the Bethelite, build Jericho. He laid the foundation thereof in Abiram, his firstborn, and set up the gates thereof in his youngest son, Segub, according to the word of the Lord, which he spake to Joshua, the son of Nun. All right. So now let's keep reading. Let's get into the story now. 8:05. We're going to be doing a little bit of reading. And Elijah the Tishbite, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, as the Lord God of Israel liveth, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word. So now the Lord is the one that can cause a famine, right? If the Lord decided there is going to be no rain, all the vegetation is going to die, right? And you have to understand that the power of Israel, our power, can cause a plague to hit America. And we have to really put it in this perspective, that not only does he control the plagues, but he controls the weather. He controls every drop of rain that hits a farmer's field, And so if the Lord decided in America to sustain the rain and to suspend the rain and to curse the land with a famine, whoa, we're going to be in big trouble. Right? Rain plays a big role in our food production. Right? Well, let's keep reading. 1 Kings chapter verse 2. And the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, Get thee hence, and turn thee eastward, and hide thyself by the brook Cherith, that is before the Jordan. And here's another thing you have to understand, right? If you're serving the Lord, understand when there's danger, the Lord is going to warn you of that danger. He's going to make sure that you are not taken out of the way when danger surfaces, right? And so the Lord is warning Elijah, and he's saying, man, head east and stand over there by the brook, right? And Elijah, because he was fervent and and diligent in keeping the Lord's words, his laws, his statutes, commandments, he followed the Lord's and how the Lord positioned him to survive this famine, right? Pretty sure many in Israel died because of this famine. Let's keep reading. And the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, Get thee hence, and turn thee eastward, and hide thyself by the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan. Verse 4. And it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there. You listen, if something was to ever happen in America where we didn't have any resources, where there was no food, the Lord, it will send the animals to feed his children. He'll send the raven to give meat onto Elijah. You know what I mean? So this is something that you should never worry about. You should never worry about, well, if there's a food crisis, what are we going to do for food? Understand that if you're wholeheartedly serving the Lord, you have nothing to worry about. Right? If you've given up the rudiments of this world and have sacrificed your life to please the Lord, you have nothing to worry about, right? If you are following Commander General Yohana in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, when that time comes and the Lord plagues the land, you will have nothing to worry about. Now, there's a flip side to that. Now, if you are celebrating Christmas, you are celebrating Thanksgiving, you are selling drugs, you are being a homosexual, and you're doing all manner of evil in the sight of the Lord, you might not have mercy when those plagues come. You might be who the plague is for, to wipe you out, right? To wipe out the thing that's bringing destruction on the planet. Your lust, your concupiscence, right? So we have to be very careful in these last days, right? We have to be very careful because we are near the end. And now more than ever should you practice these righteous acts and get your together. You know what I mean? But Salakia. Let's keep reading. And it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there. 1 Corinthians 17:5. So he went and did according unto the word of the Lord. For he went and dwelt by the brook Cherith, that is before the Jordan. Salaki, let's keep reading. And the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening. And he drank of the brooks. And it came to pass after a while that the brook dried up, because there had been no rain in the land. And the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, Arise, get close to Zarephath, and dwell there. Behold, I have commanded a widow woman there to sustain thee. Now, when the Lord said, I have commanded a woman there to sustain thee, meaning the Lord could put a spirit on a brother or sister that can minister onto you, right? I've had situations where a brother and a sister in the world came through for me in certain instances. And when you think about this, you have to understand that this is a spirit that the Lord has put on that brother or sister to be able to help you out, right? And this is what the Lord is saying here. So he rose and went to Zarephath, and when he came to the gate of the city, behold, the widow woman was there gathering of sticks. And he called to her and said, Fetch me, I pray thee, a little water in a vessel, that I may drink. And as she was going to fetch it, he called to her and said, Bring me, pray thee, a morsel of bread in thine hand. And she said, As the Lord thy power liveth, I have not a cake, but a handful of meal in a barrel, and a little oil in a cruse. And behold, I am gathering 2 sticks, that I may go in and dress it for me and my son, that we may eat it and die. So this woman proposed that this was going to be her last meal, and she was ready to die with her son, right? And so Elijah comes through, and he's like, well, see that bread in your hand? Give it to me, right? Now, keep in mind, this entails another test that was given to the woman to see if she'll comply with what Elijah has said. The Lord takes a man and the prophet very serious, and he wants you to take them very serious, and he wants you to understand that is serving me, meaning this is the Most High speaking, but whoever is serving me, understand that he is to be reverenced when he's in the building, right? That's why when a priest and prophet of the Lord walks into the room, specifically a general, we stand up to reverence the leadership that we have. And this is the leadership of Israel. So she is being put under a major test. And let's see if she passes or fails. Let's go. And she was given to fetch it. And he called her and said, Bring me, I pray thee, a morsel of bread in thy hand. And she said, As the Lord thy power liveth, I have not a cake, but a handful of meal in a barrel, and a little oil in the cruse. Shalakia. And behold, I am gathering 2 sticks, that I may go in and dress it for me and my son, that we may eat and die. Let's keep reading. And Elijah said unto her, Fear not, go, and do as thou hast said, but make me thereof a little cake first. Bring it unto me, and after make for thee and for thy son. So Elijah's saying, is asking the woman to feed her before her son. Now, how hard is that for a woman to do? Imagine in 2020, you go to a woman and her son, and you are dying of hunger. And you ask this woman to feed you, right? And keep in mind, her son is hungry. And you ask the woman to feed you first before she feeds her son. That's how much the Lord values a priest and prophet of the Lord, right? Right? He didn't put the child first and said, well, let me have sympathy on the situation and make sure the child eats first. He said, make sure you feed me first, and then you and your son can eat. Because Elijah is the blessing that the Lord sent to this woman, that for her and her son not to die. Just keep that in mind. But let's keep going. Verse 14. For thus saith the Lord, power of Israel, the barrel of meal shall not waste, neither shall the cruse of oil fail, until the day that the Lord sendeth rain upon the earth. So he's saying, until the Lord starts to pour down water on this earth, he said, you're going to receive the food that you need, and it won't go to waste, right? Meaning the Lord is going to suffice you in this food crisis that we're in. Verse 15, and she went and did according to the saying of Elijah, and she and he and her house did eat many days. Salakia. Verse 16, and the barrel of meal wasted not, neither did the cruse of oil fail, according to the word of the Lord, which he spake by Elijah. I'm going to tell you a story, right? We had a cookout a couple of years ago in New York. And my rib at the time had, well, I definitely, was I had to police the situation, but my rib at the time had made a bunch of trays for the cookout. And you know how UPK gets down. You know, everybody eats of Israel in the school and outside of the school. So a few people from the streets came in to get some food. And it almost seemed like we didn't have enough to feed everybody. And what I've noticed is that when I was looking at the trays, it almost seemed like the trays did not fail. It almost seemed like, you know what I mean? Like people were going up and they kept going up to grab some more and more. And we were skeptical as to whether this, the food would last. And literally, it almost felt like the 2 loaves and 5 fishes situation, right? Where it just kept, it wouldn't fail. We just kept feeding and feeding and feeding people, right? So that reminds me of that. But let's keep reading. And it came to pass after these things that the son of the woman, the mistress of his house, fell sick, and her sickness was sore, that there was no breath left in him. So now let's just fast track. Elijah was a blessing to this woman. But then something went wrong with the woman's son. And now she switched up on Elijah, which was another test that she was put into, where she switched up on Elijah and said, basically, ever since you came, all this happened, and now my son is damn near dead. But if you read the story further, Elijah goes in, cries unto the Most Lord, and is able to revive his son, her son, through the power of the Lord. So a lot of people will get blessings, but then when bad comes, all of a sudden they lose their faith. All of a sudden, it's, they expect the good, but they don't expect the bad that comes with it, right? And they think that it's a curse when bad things happen to those that are being tested, right? But let's keep reading. Let's jump to Let's jump to 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 1. And it came to pass after many days that the word of the Lord came to Elijah in the 3rd year, saying, Go show thyself unto Ahab, and I will send rain upon the earth. And Elijah went. And keep in mind, there was a drought for about 3 years before the Lord caused rain to fall on the planet. That's a long time. And Elijah went to show himself unto Ahab, and there was a sore famine in Samaria. And Ahab called Obadiah, which was the governor of his house. Now Obadiah feared the Lord greatly. Now keep in mind, Obadiah was in the school of prophets under Elijah, right? Obadiah was another prophet that feared the Lord. And Ahab said unto Obadiah, Go into the land, unto all fountains of water, and to all brooks. Peradventure we may find grease to save the horses and mules alive, that we lease not all the beasts. So they divided the land between So they divided the land between them to pass throughout it. Ahab went one way by himself, and Obadiah went another way by himself. And as Obadiah was in the way, behold, Elijah met him. And he knew him, and fell on his face, and said, Art thou that my lord Elijah? And he answered and said, I am. Go, tell thy Lord, behold, Elijah is here. And he said, What have I sinned that thou wouldest deliver thine into the hand of Ahab to slay them? Slay me. As the Lord, verse 10, as the Lord thy power liveth, there is no nation or kingdom whither the Lord had not sent to seek thee. And when they said, He is not there, he took an oath of the kingdom and nation that they found thee not. And now thou sayest, Go tell thy Lord, behold, Elijah is here. And as verse 12, and it shall come to pass, as soon as I am gone from thee, that the Spirit of the Lord shall carry thee whither I know not. And so when I come out and tell Ahab, and he cannot find thee, he shall slay me. But I, thy servant, fear the Lord from thy youth. Verse 13, was it not told my Lord what I did when Jezebel slew the prophets of the Lord? How I hid 100 men of the Lord's prophets by 50 in a cave, and fed them with bread and water. So Obadiah was the one that when Jezebel went on her onslaught to pursue and persecute the servants of the Lord, that Obadiah was the one that hid the school from the onslaught of Jezebel, right? That hid the school from the persecution that was put in play, right? For the school of prophets that were under Elijah. And Obadiah is just mentioning how he had performed this act to save the servants of the Lord. But let's keep reading. And now thou sayest, go tell thy Lord, behold, Elijah is here, and he shall slay me. And Elijah said, as the Lord of hosts liveth, before whom I stand, I will surely show myself unto him today. So Obadiah went to meet Ahab and told him, and Ahab went to meet Elijah. And it came to pass, when Ahab saw Elijah, that Ahab said unto him, art thou he that troubleth Israel? And this is what they say to us. Like, we're the ones that are troubling our people. That's how they look at us, the priests and prophets of the Lord, right? Every day, every week that we're on them corners, our people feel like we are troubling our people by telling them to stop the wickedness that they continue to do unto this day, right? But they look at us like we're troubling Israel, right? Because we are bringing out the word of the Most High. We are bringing out the word of the Lord, right? So Obadiah, Slakia, verse 18. And he answered, I have not troubled Israel, but thou and thy father's house, and that ye have forsaken the commandments of the Lord, and thou hast not followed Balaam. Verse 19. Now therefore send and gather to me all Israel unto Mount Carmel, and the prophets of Baal 450, and the prophets of the groves 450, which eat at Jezebel's table. Now this is a standout, right? Obadiah hid the school, right, from the onslaught and persecution that the school was going to suffer, right? Here's your problem, right? When you think about the UPK and how we've established an infrastructure for the UPK, this is absolutely biblical, because during the time of Elijah, there were a school of prophets, with Elijah being the commanding general. And we were able to survive this horrific onslaught that Jezebel was with Jezebel coming against us and trying to destroy all the prophets of the land. See, the one thing that they know is that when you destroy the prophets of the Lord, and you destroy the people that the Lord chose to revive a nation, to bring Solomon to a nation, you then could have the ultimate power that it exercised. Because there's not a man of the Lord that is righteous, that is going to stand up and stop the people from their wickedness. Which is why Elijah had a bounty on his head. But let's keep reading. So now he's going to grab all of Jezebel's prophets, right? Prophets of Baal, into a field, right? And I believe there was about 400. All those that ate at Jezebel's table, right? And at the same time, when you get into a battle with someone, you want to make sure that there's witnesses. You want to make sure that the people are there. Because this is what's going to edify the people when they see this battle, right? And Elijah came unto all the people and said, how long halt ye between two opinions? If the Lord be God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. And the people answered him not a word. The people were so mixed up. They didn't know whether to follow the Lord or whether to follow Baal, right? A lot of times our people follow what's popular. And Baal was popular. Baal was like the Christian church today, right? Why are people so gun-ho about going to church? Because it's the only place that you can really go to sing, to dance, to receive some sort of entertainment. And it's the only place that you can go to dress however the hell you want and to do what the hell you want to do, supposedly without no consequences, right? And there's always consequences to do when you think you can do what the hell you want to do, right? So now these prophets have come to this to a point where now they're about to battle Elijah. And let's read what happens here. And it shall come to pass that him that escapeth the sword of Hazael shall Jehu slay, and him that escapeth the sword of Jehu shall Elisha slay. Right? Salaki. Let me get this right. Salaki. Let's go back to 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 20. So Ahab sent all the children of Israel and gathered the prophets together onto Mount Carmel. And Elijah came unto all the people and said, how long shall ye be between two opinions? If the Lord be God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. And the people answered him not a word. So now this was a crowd that was divided. This crowd was so divided that they didn't know whether to choose the Most High or Baal. And this is what happens when a brother in the UPK is in a battle. The people in their mind, they know that what the UPK is spitting is real talk. But they're battling in their mind whether to follow Egyptology or whether to follow the Most High. Whether to follow Christianity or whether to follow the Most High. But let's keep reading. Then said Elijah unto the people, I, even I only, remain a prophet of the Lord. But Baal's prophets are 450 men. Right? Verse 23. Let them therefore give us 2 bullocks, and let them choose 1 bullock for themselves, and cut it into pieces, and lay it on the wood, and put no fire under. And I will dress the other bullock, and lay it on a wood, and put no fire under it. Let's keep reading. And call ye on the name of your gods, and I will call on the name of the Lord. And God and the power that answered it by fire, let him be God. And all the people answered and said, it is well spoken. And so now Elijah is putting a spectacle on right now, where he's like, you set up your altar, right? Get two bullocks, right? One of them, cut it into pieces, put it on the wood, don't put no fire under it, right? And now watch, he goes even further. And Elijah said unto the prophets of Baal, choose one bullock for yourselves, and dress it first, for ye are many, and call on the name of your gods, but put no fire under. Verse 26, and they took the bullocks, which was given them, and they dressed it, and called on the name of Baal from morning even until noon, saying, O Baal, hear us. But there was no voice, nor any that answered, and they leapt upon the altar which was made. And it came to pass at noon that Elijah mocked them. So Elijah gave him a little bit of time to do their buffoonery, which is what all false prophets do, which is what all Christian pastors do, right? Let them do their buffoonery. And he mocked them, right? He clowned them, right? Which is what you should do. You should clown someone that thinks that they can perform a miracle. You should clown someone that thinks that they serve the Lord, but they're so effeminate and they're the biggest homosexuals that you ever seen in your life. Clown them, because they don't serve the Lord, right? It even says this, the Lord will laugh at your calamity. You know what? Just so nobody says that, why would you ever do that, right? Well, here's what the Lord says, right? It says this, Slakia. It says this. In Proverbs 1, verse 26, it says, I will also laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. Right? The Lord is going to laugh at your calamity. Right? You want to do what the hell you want to do. You want to live it up and enjoy this world and enjoy this kingdom and be able to do what the hell you want to do with the Lord. When things start to pop off in your life and you start to receive a little bit of smoke, the Lord is going to laugh at your calamity. Right? Keep reading. Let's keep reading. And they took the bullocks which was given them, and they dressed it. Let's just jump to 1 Kings 18 and 28. And they crowded alive and cut themselves after the manner which knives and lancers, till the blood gushed out upon them. So at this time they're cutting themselves, trying to get the Lord, trying to get their gods to respond. And nothing. Verse 20, 29. And it came to pass when midday was past, and they prophesied unto the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice, that there was neither voice nor any to answer, nor any that regarded. So Elijah let them wear themselves out. At that point, they're like, all right, this is a joke. The crowd is looking at it like, this is a joke. We've been here hours, and it's not, y'all haven't done not a goddamn thing, right? The coronavirus has been plaguing America and the world, and your Christian pastors shut down the church. All this miracle healing that they were talking about, that is null and void. They do not know the Most High, nor do the Most High deal with them. But let's go. Let's keep reading. Verse 30, and Elijah said unto the people, come near unto me. And all the people came near unto him. And he repaired the altar of the Lord that was broken down. And Elijah took 12 stones according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Jacob, unto whom the word of the Lord came, saying, Israel shall be thy name. And with the stones he built an altar in the name of the Lord, and he made a trench about the altar as great as would contain 2 measures of seed. And he put the wood in order, and to cut the bullocks in pieces, and laid them on the wood, and said, fill 4 barrels with water, and pour it on the burnt sacrifice on the wood. So now, if you ever did a barbecue, or if you ever grilled, you know that water is your biggest enemy. Moisture is your biggest enemy when it comes to lighting up grill. And Elijah said, pour 4 barrels on that sacrifice of water. And he put the wood in order, and he cut the bullock in pieces and laid them on the wood, and said, fill 4 barrels with water and pour it on the burnt sacrifice on the wood. And he said, do it the second time. He made him do it twice. He made him put 4 barrels the first time. He made him put 4 barrels the second time. And said, fill 4 barrels with water. And they did it the second time. And he said, do it the third time. And they did it the third time. So 3 times they did 4 barrels of water. And the water ran about the altar. And he filled the trench also with water. And it came to pass at the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice that Elijah the prophet came near and said, Lord, power of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known this day that thou art God in Israel, that I am thy servant, and that I have done all these things at thy word. Hear me, O Lord, hear me, that this people may know that thou art the Lord God, and that thou hast turned their heart back again. Now, this whole scenario was to turn the people's heart back onto the Lord. Now, what you'll start to realize, if you really pay attention to what's going on, the UPK, my brothers, the priests and prophets of the Lord, are here to turn back the hearts of the people of the Lord back onto the Most High, right? As you see these events going on, as you see the Nick Cannon situation, as you see these riots, and as you see the hell that we're going through, you're going to look back at the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge and what they were doing prior to the hell that's to come. What you'll start to realize is that truly these are the people that serve the Lord. Because we will not waver. We will not give up our integrity, nor will we give up our honor when it comes to our people and what we have to do. Not what we want to do, not what we need to do, what we have to do to turn the people's hearts back onto the Lord. Because the devices that they're dealing with, the level of witchcraft that they're dealing with is on a high level. Right? But let's keep reading. We're about to end the class. We ran out of time, unfortunately. And it came to pass. Let's read 37. Hear me, O Lord, hear me, that these people may know that thou art the Lord thy God, that has turned the heart back again. Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt sacrifice, and the wood, and the stones, and the dust, and licked up the water that was in the trench. Verse 39. And when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces, and they said, the Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God. You're going to see amazing things that the men in the UPK are going to be doing. It is going to absolutely stun you when you see the power that the Lord is going to pour out onto the children of Israel, more specifically onto the priests and prophets in the UPK, and even the sisters. You are going to see it. Right? Even Christ said, you will do even greater than what I've done. And I'm paraphrasing, but you know what I'm talking about. Right? But let's go. And when people saw it, they fell at verse 40. And Elijah said unto them, take the prophets of Baal, let not one of them escape. And they took them. And Elijah brought them down to the brook Kishon and slew them there. I'm going to stop right there. Here, let me tell you something, man. Your priests that have been prophesying lies unto you, they are going to be run out of town in about a hot second. When the whole COVID-19 situation popped off, your Christian church shut down. All that talk, all that pimping they've been doing for years was fugazi. And if you haven't woken up to that, and if you this Sunday go to church this Sunday, you are a goddamn fool. And guess what? The Lord will laugh at your calamity because you want to worship Baal. And if you're in the Christian church, you worship Baal. And Elijah was showing you that your only solution is Commander Jeriana. Your only solution is the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. There's no other solution to our demise in America, to this problem that we face in America. And you got to wake up, and you got to wake up fast because we're near the end. And the Lord is speaking now. The Lord is bringing the smoke now, right? And so the Elijah and his school of prophets, the Lord is going to create a safe haven for them, and for those that have supported us, they might receive mercy from the Lord. I didn't really get too far into it, but we have tomorrow's class is Brotherhood. Wednesday's class is the law class. Tune in. ISUPK Boston. Boston No Cowards on YouTube. ISUPK Boston on Facebook. Tune in tomorrow. And with that, one quick announcement.